Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. In this video, you're checking out a solo stamina Templar build for the Elder Scrolls Online. And not only that, but this is a solo 1-bar build, meaning the rotation is extremely easy to pick up. In terms of our gear sets, we're also using all base game item sets, no DLCs required, just to make things as simple as possible, while still making for a very strong build. So as usual, we'll talk about the stats, we'll talk about gear sets, skills, champion points, we'll talk about the outfit style, and go over the very simple rotation, and that's all coming up next. All right, everybody, here we are back on the Stamina Templar, this time for another solo build. Solo 1-bar build, actually, so we'll go over the 1-bar setup first. And then, of course, I'll give you some options for 2 bars in case you want to increase the damage on this setup. But let's go ahead and buff up with just our potion and rally, as well as our rune, and check out the basic stats on the build. Keep in mind, this is a solo build, so it's not intended as a pure DPS build. We're going to be mostly soloing things like world bosses, dungeons, that kind of thing. But sitting at about 15k max magicka, almost 20k max health, and almost 33k max stamina. 600 magicka recovery, 1000 health recovery, and 800 stamina recovery. Now, we do have other ways of restoring our stamina as well, so we'll talk about that in a minute. As far as your weapon damage on just the 1-bar setup, about 4,400 weapon damage. You can get this over 5k on a 2-bar build. And then weapon critical does go up with jabs. Biting jabs, of course, does increase that by 10%, so about 56%. Weapon critical is looking good. And then about 25k spell and physical resist. Now 64 points into stamina. And then as far as the Mundus, I'm running the Thief just because the base crit wasn't that high on this setup. For the food, we've got Bewitched Sugar Skulls. This gives us a nice combo of magicka, stamina, health, and health recovery. And that magicka is going to be really important when we talk about our heal. As far as potions, you can run the basic stamina potions if you want, or you can run tri-stat potions. That's a really good option as well if you can afford it. And for the race on this build, I am currently an Orc. Orc's going to be the best offensive race for a Stamina Templar because you get stamina, you get max health, and then of course the 258 weapon damage plus some extra sprint speed is really nice too. Now if you want something a little bit more defensive, a little bit more tanky, check out the Nord. That's going to be very nice as well. You'll get the extra physical and spell resistance, plus you'll get the health and stamina, and some extra Ulgen, which is going to be really nice on solo builds as well. So I think that covers the basics. Let's check out our sets next. Starting off with our offensive set, this is going to be the Night Mother's Gaze set. This is a crafted set from the base game. My goal with this build was just to make it really simple. Everything base game. You don't need any DLC sets for this build, you guys. So Night Mother's Gaze, if you don't know this one, it gives you 2 weapon critical bonuses, 1 weapon damage bonus. And when you deal critical damage, you apply Major Fracture to the enemy. So that's that 50-80 physical resistance debuff. Now, why is that good for Stamina Templar? Well, especially on the solo build, you don't have really any way of getting that debuff by yourself. There's no class skill that does that for us. So this is going to be a really easy way to increase our damage to debuff the enemy. Now, this is crafted, so all I did was craft some medium armor pieces. This is going to be a medium armor build, so I've got the Night Mother's Gaze, feet, legs, hands, and waist. Again, all medium. All divines if you can for the trait, all max stamina for the enchant. 4 pieces there, and then I just crafted 1 piece of jewelry, and this has to do with our other 5-piece set. But you can craft a heavy armor Night Mother's Gaze chest as well, but the jewelry was just an easy way to go about this for me. So, Necklace of the Night Mother infused with a weapon damage enchant. That's going to give us our full 5-piece bonus here. Why infused as the trait on the neck? Well, that just gives us extra weapon damage, which is going to be very nice for damage as well as healing on the Stamina Templar. So first 5-piece is Night Mother's Gaze. Second 5-piece set is something called the Nightmare set. This is actually a dungeon set from the base game. It's from Spindle Clutch. You can get it from the first or the second version of the dungeon. And what this does, it is a heavy armor set, and it gives us armor, max health, weapon damage. And then when you deal melee damage, you have a 20% chance to apply Minor Maim to all enemies within 8 meters for 5 seconds, and that reduces their damage done by 15%. So again, just another basic set from the base game. And what I want to do on this build is make it basically fill in all the gaps of the solo Templar, solo stamina Templar, right? So Minor Maim is another debuff that we don't have access to from any of our class skills. So I just threw it on my set. And this is going to be really nice for soloing you guys because it makes those bosses hit for 15% less damage. So let's say that huge boss heavy attack that's going to slam you for 10,000 damage. Now it only hits for 8,500. Plus we have lots of other mitigation, which we'll talk about in our skills and our passives. But this is a really nice defensive set to go with our offensive set. And it procs on melee damage, which by the way, jabs is considered as melee damage. So as long as you hit one enemy, even if you're fighting a group of 10, hit one enemy, and it procs Nightmare, then everything around you, that's going to be debuffed with the Minor Maim debuff. So very nice. Like I said, this is a dungeon set from Spindle Clutch. It is heavy armor, so you can just pick up a heavy chest if you want. And there are a couple of named pieces, specific pieces, which I don't have on me right now, but there is a named axe that I believe drops from one of the bosses. So you can pick that up for your weapon or just pick up any two-hander for your weapon. So this weapon will count for 2 pieces. Your chest will count for 3. And then just pick up 2 rings. Now the rings you don't even need to get to the last boss. I believe either the first or second boss will drop a robust ring, a stamina enchanted ring. And you can actually get 2 of them, which is going to be really nice for this build. And of course, if you do have the trait change gems, I would recommend eventually changing those to infused and bloodthirsty, just for some extra weapon damage and some extra bonus execute damage. This is going to be very nice for when your boss is low health, letting you do that extra 10% damage. So we've got Night Mother, we have the Nightmare set, and then as far as the monster helm, I think you have some options. A really fun option I've been playing around with the Greymoor PTS right now is called Celestrix. This is yet another base game set, pretty easy to get. And it gives you max stamina on the 1 piece. And then for the 2 piece, when you deal damage, you create an earthquake under the enemy, does about 9k physical damage, and stuns all the enemies around you for 3 seconds. So this is really fun, you guys, for clearing your way through dungeons, fighting trash packs, even something like Maelstrom Arena. It's a free AoE stun that procs off any damage. So as soon as you hit your jabs, on your target, that's going to proc a stun, an AoE stun, in fact, so it's really nice. Now, obviously, things like world bosses cannot be stunned, so if you want to grab another monster set, maybe for more pure single target damage, then I would also recommend the Selene monster set. That's going to do about twice as much damage as this, but it is single target, so keep that in mind. And whatever you get, you do probably want medium pieces here, so a medium helmet, medium shoulder, divines if you can get it as your trait, and then max stamina on everything here. So if you're keeping track of this, I am doing 6 pieces of medium. My only heavy piece is the chest. Now you can mix that up a little bit as long as you have at least 5 medium. You could do something like craft a light belt for extra Undaunted. If you have your Undaunted maxed out, I wouldn't bother unless you do. But then another option would be you could do Nightmare chest and Nightmare legs, so you could have 2 heavy and 5 medium. So it's really up to you. I like just the 6 medium for a little bit extra medium armor passives, which we'll talk about in a minute. So that covers the 1 bar setup. Now, as far as the 2 bar, which we'll talk about a little bit at the end, all you really need is a bow. So any type of bow is fine. Bow of agility, maelstrom bow, whatever you want, as long as it is infused with a weapon damage enchant on the back bar. So if you're doing the 2 bar version, that will give you over 5k weapon damage, which is really nice. All right, moving on to skills for the 1 bar setup. We have got Power of the Light, which is the staple Stamplar ability. It does physical damage. It also copies all your damage done for 6 seconds and releases 20% of that. It also does the minor fracture debuff. It also gives us some really nice passives. So you guys know this ability. Hopefully, it just does lots and lots of good things for us. It's from the Dawn's Wrath skill line, which is the Templar class skill line, 3rd ability here. And you want Power of the Light, which is the stamina morph. Next up, Ritual of Retribution. This is from Restoring Light. And this is actually a very nice heal over time and damage over time. So you can see we are healed every 2 seconds, and it does magic damage every 2 seconds. And let me just buff up so you can see kind of the healing. It does this huge area of effect around you. And check out the healing and damage. Really nice. About 3k heals and damage over time. That's every 2 seconds, by the way. And in my testing, this is very similar to the heal that we get from Vigor, from Echoing Vigor especially. It does last longer. It has a 12-second duration. And of course, instead of just being a pure heal like Vigor, this is a heal plus a damage over time. It also gives us some nice passives, which we'll talk about later. But I've really been liking this as my main heal. As long as I stay in this area, I am going to be healed every 2 seconds. And the other nice thing about this too, on the 1-bar setup, is it costs magicka, not stamina. So you might be wondering, why is that good? Well, basically, it means I have one less stamina ability that I need to sustain. So I have extra stamina. I mean, my magicka pool you saw was pretty high because I'm running tri-stat food. I have nothing else to do with that magicka pool, so I might as well cast this every 12 seconds, get the heals and the damage over time. It's really, really nice. Now, yes, if you don't like that, you can run Vigor in this spot, but that means you need to PvP for a little bit on your character. You need to level that up. So this is always a nice option on your Stamina Templar. Because it was changed recently to scale with your weapon damage or spell damage, whichever is higher. You can see there, scales with your highest offensive stats. So definitely check that out. Give it a try. I really like it. Next up, we got Restoring Focus, another Templar skill from the Restoring Light tree. That's actually the last ability. And this is our major defensive buff as well as our sustain buff. So it gives us physical and spell resistance. Also, 240 stamina recovery every 1 second. So as long as you're standing within this, you also get bonus armor, basically. So outside of the circle, I have 22, 21k. Inside the circle, I have almost 25k. So keep that in mind if you're fighting, especially a boss that's hitting you very hard. Stay in your rune if you can, as much as possible. And of course, you want to overlap that a little bit with your Retribution rune, kind of like this. So that is how that works. Next up, we've got Biting Jabs, of course, the main spammable ability on this setup. It's from ALDRIC Spear, first ability. Morph it to Biting Jabs, that is the stamina morph. So this does very nice physical damage. It is AoE as well. And it does, like I mentioned, give us that passive crit bonus. Also gives us passive minor protection, which is really nice on the solo build. And of course, Rally. Rally is important because that's going to be a nice burst heal. You guys just let it tick for a few seconds. I'd say at least around 10 seconds. And then when you recast this, you can see the heal there, over 18k burst heal. Really, really nice, really powerful. This also, of course, gives us the weapon damage bonus, Major Brutality. So that's 20% bonus weapon damage. We get minor endurance, so increased stamina recovery. So, yep, just a very nice ability to have. Save it for your burst heal, of course. That is from the two-handed skill line. Last ability that you get, Morph it to Rally for the burst heal. Ultimate. I like Flawless Dawnbreaker on the 1-bar setup. That's just because it does a lot of damage as well as increases our own weapon damage. So that's from the Fighters Guild. The ultimate here. Now you can do the other Dawnbreaker of Smiting Morph. That does do a stun, but we are getting that stun from Stellastrick, so you don't really need it. Plus, check out that activating effect there at the bottom. Your weapon damage is increased by 300 for 20 seconds. That's a very long buff and a lot of weapon damage, actually. So this is pretty nice, you guys. I definitely would recommend you check that out. So that is the 1-bar setup. How does it work? Well, let's try it out. So let's say you're fighting a boss or something like that. Hang on. Back up a little bit. So you want to make sure your runes are active, right? Your Retribution and your rune here on the ground. This is your fighting area, you guys. Stay within your rune as much as possible. And then basically the rotation is super simple. We're just going to throw on Power of the Light and about 3 Biting Jabs. And just do that over and over while maintaining your buffs. Now, if something starts to drop off, like my Retribution dropped off, you can see, you're going to recast that instead of one of the jabs. And that's basically it. So let's go ahead and set up over here. Ritual, Rune, I'll go ahead and pull in the boss with Power of the Light. Come over here. All right, so Power of the Light, about 3 jabs is what we want. So you can see my rally's going to fall off. I'm going to recast it. I'll do my rotation again. Power of the Light, about 3 jabs. Ritual is falling off, so I'll go ahead and recast that. Power of the Light. A couple more jabs. Rune is down. I'll go ahead and recast that. Power of the Light. Ultimate. A couple more jabs. So that's the basic rotation. Very, very simple. Just make sure you keep on Power of the Light. As soon as it pops, that big green glowing effect, go ahead and recast that. Make sure your ritual is up all the time, you guys. That's very important. That's our heal over time. Rune needs to be up for your defense. Recast rally. Use your potion if you need to. But you can save onto that for sustain if you want. And that's it. You can see he's debuffed really well here. He's got the minor maim on him, so he's not hitting me very hard at all. I'll go ahead and finish this guy off. Since he's almost dead anyways. Oh, I lost my ritual. Here it is. Power of the Light, jabs. Done. Easy, easy peasy. Now, let's say that you wanted to extend this a little bit and do 2 bars. In that case, you could move these abilities, Ritual Retribution and Restoring Focus, probably to your back bar if you wanted to. A couple abilities you might consider running on the front bar then. You could run more weapon abilities here, so like Brawler or even like Critical Rush, something else from the 2-handed skill line if you would like. That's very nice. Here you would run something, I would say, from the Fighters Guild. So for example, you could pick up Camouflage Hunter for the extra, what's that buff? Minor Berserk on the front bar. That's what I would recommend in that case. And then like we said, for the back bar, just grab a bow, any old bow. And we're going to move Ritual to the back bar, of course. You're going to combine that damage over time with another damage over time, Endless Hail. That is from the bow skill line, so right here. Second ability, I like Endless Hail because it just lasts a little bit longer. This is what's going to proc that weapon enchant on the back bar. So that extra 500 plus weapon damage on your build is procced from Endless Hail. So make sure you keep that up along with your ritual. Then any other damage over time you want on the back bar, basically Barb Trap is a nice option. That skill is from the Fighters Guild. Last ability that we get there just does very nice single target damage over time, as well as Minor Force, so 10% increased critical damage. It's very nice. Then you can run another heal if you want. If you do have Vigor, you could put it on here for emergencies. You could also run Ring of Preservation, also from the Fighters Guild. This is a very nice heal over time as well. Then you just have your Restoring Focus. You move it from the front bar to the back bar. And then any ultimate you want here. You could run the ALDRIC Spear ultimate. I do have just Remembrance slotted right here. That's from Restoring Light. You could also run Nova on the back bar. That would actually be a very nice option. Solar Disturbance is probably the best morph because it just lasts the longest. This applies Major Maim. So we talked about Minor Maim. Does 15%. Major Maim debuffs a boss by 30%. That's huge. So you can like drop that at the beginning of a boss pull or something, have it on your back bar. That would be a very, very nice option. So let's talk about passives next. What passives do you need on the Stamina Templar build? ALDRIC Spear, you want all of them, basically. Just keep it simple. Piercing Spear, you get bonus critical damage, which is huge. Spear Wall, this is probably one of the best passives in the game. While doing your main spammable biting jabs, you also get minor protection. I mean, come on. That's pretty strong. Burning Light as well. This gives you tons of extra physical damage. And then Balance Warrior gives you weapon damage plus spell resistance. That is very nice. Dawn's Wrath, a few of these are important. For example, Prism. This does give you ultimate for every 6 seconds. So basically 3 ultimate every 6 seconds when you cast Dawn's Wrath abilities. The only one that we have is Power of the Light. And guess what? It lasts 6 seconds. So this ability generates tons and tons of ultimate as long as you use it every 6 seconds to generate damage like you should be doing in this very simple rotation. So keep that in mind. Illuminate, we're not really using that. Restoring Spirit, though, you guys, make sure you pick this up for the extra cost reduction of all your abilities, including your ultimate. So that is nice. Now, Restoring Light, these are more like healing focused passives. Mending is nice. It does increase your healing when you get low health, so that will be good for soloing especially. But then Sacred Ground is very nice, you guys. While you're standing in your ritual or your rune, you get minor mending. So basically, as long as I'm in this area, or if I'm at least in this little area here from the rune, I get 8% increased healing done. So that means our ritual is going to heal us for more. Our rally, when we pop that, it's going to heal us for more. So this is a great passive. Make sure you pick that up as well. Two-handed, of course, is going to be important. Make sure you pick up all your passives here. Bow passives, if you're using the 2-bar setup, make sure you grab those. Medium armor, everything in medium armor you want, except potentially improved sneak. You could drop that if you're not being sneaky. Heavy armor, pick up the first 3. Even if you have just one piece of heavy armor, you'll get some nice max health. You'll get extra health recovery and sustain, and you'll get extra physical and spell resistance. Fighters Guild, pick up all of these. Undaunted if you have it. Undaunted Metal for the extra max stats. Assault and Support we do not need, and then Racial Skills and Alchemy Medicinal Use to make your potions last that 30% longer. Champion points. Hey, he's back. Champion points, what do you want on a solo Templar build? Well, in the green tree, 26 Warlord, 31 into Sprinter, 49 into Healthy, 27 Arcanist, 75 into Mooncalf, 31 into Shadow Ward and Tumbling. In the blue tree, just 23 into Blessed, 66 Master at Arms. This does increase the damage of jabs now, by the way. So that's what you want there. Physical Weapon Expert, 11 points there. 23 Thaumaturge for our dots, 51 Precise Strikes, 40 into Piercing, 56 Mighty. In the red tree, 72 Ironclad, 39 Medium Armor Focus. If you're wondering about this, it's because the Templar class gets so much extra spell resistance that it's kind of nice to balance that out with physical resistance. So if you have extra points, put a few into that one. 64 into Hardy and Elemental Defender, 31 Thick-Skinned. Outfit style. If you're curious about this look, it's actually from the Greymoor PTS. Something new that you can pick up in the new chapter is these ancestral styles. So there's the Ancestral High Elf. Ancestral Nord actually looks pretty cool as well. And then this is Ancestral Orc on all the main body pieces. So I just thought since I'm running the Orc, why not? So it's Ancestral Orc in medium. Then for the shoulder, that is a little bit different. That is called Hollowjack. That's the light. Hollowjack light shoulders. And then for the helmet, that's going to be our Heavy Blood Forge helmet. All right, everybody, that's going to wrap up the solo Templar 1-bar build. As usual, I'll have some gameplay here at the end, just so you can see how the build feels and plays. This is actually from the Greymoor chapter PTS, one of my favorite new bosses from the Greymoor chapter down in Blackreach. So definitely check it out. This is a really interesting fight. Of course, if you enjoyed the video today, don't forget to smash that like button for me. And if you're new here, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more build videos just like this. Make sure you turn on those notifications as well so you don't miss anything. If you'd like to support the channel further, there's links down below to my social media, as well as the new website. As soon as this video goes live, you'll be able to find a written version of this build on the website as well, so definitely check that out. Big shout out to all the channel members who've chosen to support the channel financially through the YouTube join button. If you're interested, that is down below as well. Thanks again for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you around in the next video.